Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Cut It One. I am your host, Jay, just Jay, your resident troublemaker, your resident culture warrior. I hope you are all doing well on this lovely day. I apologize for no videos coming out yesterday. I was feeling a little bit under the weather, so I sort of took a self-imposed sick day. Apologize for that, but I'm feeling a little bit better, so let's get right into it. This article came out today. It's from Bounding Into Comics, and let's see what they've got to say. Lord of the Rings of Power showrunners claim second season will be canonical after repeatedly lying to fans about the first season. The Lord of the Rings of Power showrunners promised the second season of their show will be canonical to Tolkien's work, despite nearly a year of promising that for the first season, and those promises ultimately being revealed as lies that anyone who watched the creatively bankrupt first season can attest to. Thank you. Somebody else using the words creatively bankrupt in regards to the series. Speaking with The Hollywood Reporter ahead of the first season's finale, showrunner Patrick McKay detailed what viewers can expect of the second season. He said, "Season 2 has a canonical story. There may well be viewers who are like, this is the story we were hoping to get in Season 1. In Season 2, we're giving it to them." And that about sums up my reaction right there. That picture of Charlie Vickers as Halbrand sums up my reaction to that comment. Anyway, it's a clear admission that Season 1 is not a canonical story, despite their repeated claims that they were constantly going back to the book and the source material as they attempted to justify their perversion of Tolkien's work. Maybe the biggest lie they told in this vein was during San Diego Comic-Con during the show's Hall H presentation. Showrunner J.D. Payne was asked by host Stephen Colbert, "There are characters played by actors who will be out here in just a moment who are not canonical to Tolkien. That must be one of the greatest challenges. How do you fill out that world with characters that are implied? They are implied cultures that you are drawing from, but they are not necessarily described to the depth that you are going to represent them. What guidance did you take for those characters' creations?" As part of his answer, Payne said, "So, 1, always back to Tolkien. And 2, when Tolkien was silent, we tried to invent, being the key word there, as Tolkienian a way as possible." Payne's fellow showrunner, Patrick McKay, would add, "Go back to the book, go back to the book, go back to the book." They told a similar lie in August at the Television Critics Association's press tour panel. According to The Hollywood Reporter, a member of the media described the series as vaguely connected. In response to this description, McKay said, "I just want to sort of quibble with the vaguely connected." He then explained why. "We don't feel that way. We feel like deep roots of this show are in the books and in Tolkien. And if we didn't feel that way, we'd all be terrified to sit up here. We feel that this story isn't ours. It's a story we're stewarding that was here before us and was waiting in those books to be on Earth," he elaborated. "We don't feel vaguely connected. We feel deeply, deeply connected to those folks and work every day to be even closer connected," McKay concluded. "That's really how we think about it." In another instance, Patrick McKay attempted to address rumor that the show would include modern woke politics. He told Total Film, "This was one of Tolkien's debate points with C.S. Lewis, his friend and colleague," yes, and fellow member of the Inklings, which was their little club. "It was very important that what he was creating was not allegory. He was not commenting on historical events of his time or another time. He was not trying to transmit a message that spoke to contemporary politics. He wanted to create a mythos that was timeless and would be applicable." That was his word, applicable. The applicability across times, McKay continued. He elaborated, "Every single choice we've made at every turn of making this show has been to be faithful to that aspiration, because that's what we want as viewers. We don't want to adapt the material in a way that might feel dated. We aspire to be timeless. That's why these books still speak to people so much, because so much of what's in them has not aged a day, and we aspire to do the same thing," he claimed. "And I think we feel that once people see the show and see what the stories and characters and worlds are in context, they'll feel the same way." See, here's the thing, though. I'm sorry, I'm just going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here. Because I could see what they're doing here. Their argument is, well, Tolkien, he wanted to stay away from allegory, and everybody points that out to us, and we feel that we've stayed away from allegory, but Tolkien did say that he was okay with applicability, and we feel that what we did was applicable. okay, i.e. Numenorians going on this anti-elf rant, like they're going to take our jobs, okay, and clearly that's in reference to modern day discussions about immigration and so on and so forth. But what people tend to sort of miss when they talk about Tolkien and his allegory and applicability thing is that Tolkien explained what he meant by the difference between the two, and he felt allegory was dictated by the author, or in this case, the showrunners, okay? And that is writing something or filming something and then saying this is meant to represent this in the real world, okay? I.e. a Numenorian randomly going on a "they here to take our jobs" rant, okay, that serves no function, okay, but it's designed to represent a modern day political debate discussion point that's going on in modern society regarding things like immigration. Applicability, Tolkien felt, applicability came from the author writing something, and then whether or not there was any real world connections drawn between what was written and the reader's real world was entirely up to the reader. Tolkien felt that his stuff should just be a good story, okay? And when you're dealing with concepts of good and evil and right and wrong, there's going to be some crossover into whatever the modern day cultural discussions going on of the reader, okay? Tolkien felt that the applicability was something that was in the control of the reader, okay? It was up to you to read into whether or not, the hobbits working with dwarves and elves was in any way symbolically equivalent or related to, say, multi-ethnic groups coming together to work for a cause or something like that. But he felt that was something you as the reader should do. And that's what he meant by applicability, that it was up to you to whether or not you applied these sort of real world connections to it. Whereas allegory was dictated by the author. Okay. And I think that's what gets missed here, because what the showrunners here are what they did was they tried to say, well, we're sticking to what Tolkien said about applicability, but then they put in things that could be interpreted no other way and said, well, if you view it that way, well, that's you using this applicability. And so we're sticking to Tolkien because we're not saying that it's related to this. We just are sort of presenting it in a way that leaves you with no other conclusion, which is exactly the allegory that Tolkien was against. But I digress. Anyway. Let's continue. Don Legolas. While there were repeated attempts to try and paint their show as following Tolkien's work in the lead up to its release, there were signs that the series would not be canonical in any way whatsoever, including the numerous trailer and promotional materials they released. However, before they even released the first trailer, the showrunners told Vanity Fair in February that their driving question for the series was, quote, "Can we come up with the novel Tolkien never wrote and do it as the mega event series that can only happen now?" See, again, it points to how there was going to always be allegory, i.e. woke politics in this, because they're letting you know, they're saying it right here, okay? A mega event series that could only happen now. The problem is Tolkien did write extensively on the Second Age in the Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, and the History of Middle-earth series. That is correct. In the same interview, the show's executive producer, Lindsay Weber stated, "It felt only natural for us that an adaptation of Tolkien's work would reflect what the world actually looks like." Again, that's allegory. That's allegory. That's the showrunners, or the author in Tolkien's time, showrunners in this time, telling you this represents this. This in the fiction represents this in the real world. That is not the applicability that Tolkien was talking about. Tolkien is for everyone. His stories are about his fictional races doing their best work when they leave the isolation of their own cultures and come together, she claimed. What do you make of the latest promise from the Lord of the Rings and Rings of Power showrunners? I think it's crap. I think what we're going to do, what you're going to see with season 2, okay, and I'll do a video about it, where I'll speak at length about it. But ultimately what I think you're going to do is you're going to see these sort of signpost markers that they're going to point to and be like, see, that's canonical. See, that's canonical. So we heard you. We're sticking to the canon, and that's what they'll do. Meanwhile, everything in between, between those signposts, is going to be completely made up and fabricated and bullcrap. And they've sort of painted themselves into that corner. And I'll go into more about it in another video. But let me know what you people think down below in the comments section. Remember, if you like the video, please give it a like, give it a thumbs up, share the video, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Are you skeptical? I know a lot of you guys have already said that you're checked out for season 2, and that's fine. And I don't blame you. I wholeheartedly understand it. I'll probably check it out, especially, hopefully the channel's bigger by then and stuff like that. So I'll suck it up, and I'll take one for the team, and I'll watch this shit so that you guys don't have to, and then I'll report back here about like, oh my god. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Remember, you guys are doing awesome with the subscribing. We are fast approaching the 400 mark. I know to a lot of people they're like, that's nothing, dude. Your channel is fucking small. I understand that. My channel is also only 3 weeks old. So I'm trying. We're building it up there. We got some momentum going, and I want to keep it going. So let's keep going. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. If you have already subscribed, thank you very much. You are freaking awesome. And I will see you guys on the next one. Until then, peace.